S is for seatbelts. Yahoo blocks email to ad blockers. And Black Friday deals are coming. Are you ready? Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 472 for Friday, November 20th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. Welcome, I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. Tesla is recalling all 90,000 Model S cars over a seatbelt issue. Take heart, Tesla fans. Wired.com says this is actually no big deal. The statement to customers said that the recall was over one Model S in Europe with a front seatbelt that was not properly connected to the outboard lap pretensioner. This vehicle was not involved in a crash, and there were no injuries. However, in the event of a crash, a seatbelt in this condition would not provide full protection. Customers can book a free inspection online or by phone. There's also a do-it-yourself option for Tesla owners in smaller metropolitan areas, rural locations, and in other countries. That 90,000 number sounds big and terrible, but as Wired points out, Hyundai recalled nearly 400,000 Sonatas today, and that did not make the headlines. Still, Tesla's stock was down 3% at the news. Here's an update to a story we reported last week about the first Android smartwatch with 4G LTE connectivity. The LG Urbane 2 was supposed to allow users to take and make phone calls with the watch without a phone nearby. But now the device, which has already gone on sale, will not be available after all, possibly ever. The company says that late in the QA process, engineers discovered a hardware issue that, quote, affects the day-to-day functionality of the device. Representatives say they're not sure whether or not the device will be available in the future. Many Yahoo Mail users are complaining that they have been unable to access their accounts if they are running ad blockers on their computer. A warning message pops up asking the user to disable their ad blocker before continuing to their messages. Yahoo told Engadget that they are developing and testing new product experiences and running tests on a small number of Yahoo Mail users in the United States. Yahoo's ad revenue has been steadily declining for years, so I guess it's a desperate measures for desperate times sort of situation. Recode reports that Apple has acknowledged problems with the iPad Pro. I have not had this particular problem with my iPad Pro, but some users have taken to social media to complain that their iPads have stopped responding. Apple has put up a support document that says they are aware of the problem and they are investigating. Until then, wait for it, turn it off, and then turn it back on. Coming up, we will talk with Sam Machkovech from Ars Technica about Black Friday deals, great games, and more. But first, this episode is brought to you by Epson. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduced a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer does not use ink cartridges. It features an innovative refillable ink tank. It comes with enough ink to print up to 8,500 pages, equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors and laser-quality black text, plus auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. Visit epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, your office, or your work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson for their support. It's officially a week before Black Friday, but already Black Friday deals are everywhere. I fully support the campaign to get outside and enjoy nature next Friday, but I thought some of you might still want to know the deals you'll be able to get if there are any gamers on your list this holiday. Joining us for his 2 cents on the subject is Sam Machkovech, culture reporter at Ars Technica. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It is going well. Thanks for coming on. Now, you've scoured the internet far and wide, and you have a few leaked and a few published Black Friday deals. Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start with the fact that this might be the year in which you as a game fan, you've got a gamer in your life, you yourself want to get a new system. The PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, they've been out for a while, long enough to where the prices have come down. And Microsoft very much wants you to jump into the Xbox One ecosystem. So they've got a whopping 5,000, I'm kidding, but it's a lot of bundles that they've announced that are all about getting you to get your first Xbox One. There's a bundle with Halo 5, a bundle with Rise of the Tomb Raider, a bundle with Gears of War, the Lego Movie, FIFA, Forza Motorsport 6, which is the Gran Turismo, the Xbox world, even Madden NFL. I think I already said FIFA, but essentially they've created a bunch of bundles that are all priced to move $50 off, all of them, on Black Friday. One of those, which has Gears of War in it, is going to be as low as $300, depending on where you go, and availability. Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, all the usual suspects. So however many of those consoles are around, they're going to be taking the lead there. Their PlayStation 4 is going to have a bundle that matches that amount, $300. That will be bundled only with the Uncharted collection, which takes older Uncharted games, which are the Sony version of Indiana Jones, essentially, where you're raiding tombs and finding treasure and talking wise. Those are going to be $300 for the 500 gig version, which is to say the hard drive that comes with it. Both Xbox One and PlayStation 4 require that you install games as you start playing them so that they run faster as opposed to spinning off of a disk. So that drive size will matter if you see yourself eventually getting a zillion games. And oh my goodness, there are a lot of stores that are going to be getting into Black Friday and selling games for cheap. I could keep going with all the different games, but basically Best Buy, Walmart, Target, Amazon, GameStop, all of these shops are going to have their own deals. I've been crawling through a lot of forums on the internet that have already listed some published previews of what to come. Amazon, notably, has not actually really released a full list of what to expect. What they've mostly done has been advertising that they're going to have Black Friday deals, Cyber Monday deals. They're just going to be running stuff all the time. But depending on the store you walk into, there's going to be a lot to pick from because those systems have been out for, a couple years. So there are really good games that are out for both systems. Notably, I would point out a game called Project Cars, which will be as cheap as $20 at Best Buy for Black Friday. That one is on both systems. It's a realistic driving game. Oh, I'm sorry for cutting out there. A realistic driving game that's a lot like Gran Turismo or Forza. So it's really slick looking. Kids will love it. Grown-ups will love it. Diablo 3 has a special edition that's on both Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 version of Diablo 3 is lots of action. Big game, $20. $20 for Bloodborne on PlayStation 4. That's going to be at Best Buy as well. That's a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and that one is very difficult and very bloody and not necessarily kid-friendly. On the reverse side, for a kid-friendlier game that's only on Xbox One, that's Rare Replay, which will be as low as $20 for Xbox One at places like Best Buy and GameStop. That one is going to be a collection of not most games made by the company Rare, your Perfect Dark, not Donkey Kong Country or GoldenEye, but pretty much every other big game they made. So a lot of kid-friendly fare there. Lots of the Mortal Kombat game that came out last year, The Witcher 3, which came out this year. You'll be able to find those for $25 to $30 at various shops. And those are definitely skew a little more mature, but are giant games. They're definitely for kids or kids at heart. And I would say the Wii U is also going to have a bundle at a lot of retailers for $250, and that's going to include the two biggest games of the past year and a half, which are Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Splatoon, which is Nintendo's version of an online shooting game. $250 if you didn't get the Wii U and if you really like Nintendo games. But just so you know, if you go for a Wii U, it's pretty much going to be only Nintendo games because nobody else is making games for the Wii U as of late. So it's basically every single shop that you would expect to have video games is going to have a lot of them. And they're going to have a lot of them for $15, $20, $25, and $30 a pop. So you should be able to fill up a stocking pretty easily at any of the retailers this year.
So these are mostly deals that you have to wait till next Friday for. They're not ones that have been released early.
Currently, that's the case. The one exception is that Steam, which is the computer video game shop, which is sort of the iTunes for computer games, they're going to start a sale on Wednesday the 25th, their autumn sale, and that's going to run all the way until, I believe, Cyber Monday. So if you use a computer to play games at all, you're going to be able to stock up on a ton of cheap and good games. Steam is really good at guiding you if you don't know what the heck you want. They haven't announced any prices yet, but the big thing this year with the Steam sale is that unlike past years where you would have to log in and hunt and wait for flash sales, which would only run for a few hours and have deep discounts, this year all the discounts are going to be consistent the whole time. From start to finish, those prices will be locked. So if you want to get a sale on a game, you don't have to worry about waiting by the computer while you're watching football or eating turkey on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, we showed one of the websites that you go to for Black Friday deals. We're a family-friendly show, so we can't say what it's called, but it's on the screen if you're watching the video version, and we can link to that in our show notes and on our Facebook page. But this is a website you recommend for really searching out the best deals for gamers?
Yeah, this is a site that's been around for years. It's not that vulgar. It's not like some terrible, scary thing, but it's been around for years, and it really does a good job of finding updated stuff up to the minute. So if you're desperate to make sure you are the first to know what's going to be cheap, especially for sites like Amazon and weird outlets like Dell, some of these sort of lower tier stores that you wouldn't expect, the Microsoft store, if you live near one of those, could have some deals on Black Friday as well. So you'll want to keep tuned to some of those forums to make sure you get the best announced deals, especially ones that sell only online. Amazon in particular, they haven't announced yet. Although they do a good job. If there's a game you're interested in, I would heartily recommend going on Amazon, putting it on a wish list or asking for tips, and you will probably get a deluge of emails about those games to know when those are on sale at any given moment.
So when you came on a few months ago, you gave us a preview of Fallout 4, and we talked about that a little bit. But now you have had your full review. You've played with it. What do you think?
I have played, since that review, even more hours of it. I think I've gotten up to about 80 hours of Fallout 4, much to the chagrin of all of my loved ones. And I've actually at the 80-hour point, and I think this is going to be very different for different people. I've reached a sort of Stockholm syndrome. Fallout 4 as a giant quest game, for those who don't know, you take on a either first or third person perspective, fighting through a post-nuclear apocalypse version of Boston. You're given a very simple prompt of what's happened and a quest you could go on, but ultimately you're left to your own devices to sort of explore around a giant real-sized Boston and try and figure out what the heck happened, who's still alive, whether you should be a good guy or a bad guy. And in prior games, this was very new. This hadn't been done. Fallout 3 in particular came out, I want to say, in 2008. And a game like that had not come out for big Xbox and PlayStation systems where you could really explore a giant world at your pace and be a good guy or bad guy however you wanted. Like, for example, you could go up to someone who needed your help. Oh, I really need help. And you could just shoot them in the face and take their money. And then someone else would show up and go, oh, I see you're a bad guy. How about we do this instead? The newest Fallout 4, in the same way, is more of the same, which means if you liked Fallout 3 and you've sort of been in a cave since playing Fallout 3, which is possible because it was so huge, you could just stay in a cave for 7 years and just play that game, then you'll get more of the same. It looks a little better. It plays a little better. It has a lot of specific improvements that for a diehard fan, they'll go, oh, these all really speak to my addiction to this giant game. I want to play just one game and be done with it. My review and my time with it, really, I felt like there's been a lot more since 2008 in terms of giant quests. There are games where you can go online and you can explore open worlds with friends. You can create structures and bases with friends and trade and exchange. And those games are doing things that Fallout 4 is not. And there are other games that looked at what Fallout 3 did and said, let's do a giant world, but with a better story. The Witcher 3 in particular came out earlier this year, and did a tremendous job of taking a giant open world and giving you lots of choices, but having intriguing story and a lot of interesting characters. This Fallout doesn't do that. This Fallout kind of splits the difference in the middle and doesn't please in either of those directions. So if you are not watching this because you're playing Fallout 4, then that opinion's not for you. You're in there, you're playing it, you're either loving it or you're trying to trick yourself into loving it. But if you're still on the fence, I would say there are other interesting games out, some of which I mentioned in my review, that give you that sort of giant world for $40 to $60 that you can play through in the winter months. So I don't think it's terrible. I think that to some extent there's a lot of expectations and you're not going to please everyone. But don't pretend that Fallout is the only franchise on the block for that sort of game.
Okay, let's move on to virtual reality. Today, the $99 Gear VR was available. $99, way cheaper than anything else that is out there like it. Is it worth it?
The $99 Gear VR is a really good deal and a really cool thing if you're a Samsung phone customer, meaning if you've gotten one of the 5 Samsung compatible phones that came out this year, including the latest Note and the latest Galaxy, you can pop it into the Gear VR like a Pop-Tart. You just stick it into that $99 unit, and then all of a sudden you've got a very smooth virtual reality experience. It's not quite the same as the Oculus Rift. That one requires a computer, a separate computer, and a computer is going to be more powerful than your phone, just bar none. That being said, the Gear VR is reaching the market before the official full Oculus, which is coming at some point next year, some point in the first quarter of next year. And the Gear VR has people making stuff for it. My favorite game for it currently is called SMS Racing. It cracks me up. It does require a controller in order to be really good, and I don't recall whether it's for wide sale yet. I know that you can download it if you look around. But it has a little phone down here in your vision, because you're looking up to do the driving with your controller, but you have to look down in the virtual space, and there's a phone, and you have to tap buttons on the controller to answer texts received on the phone, or your car dies. So you are encouraged to actually look away from your driving in order to answer text, and then look back up at the driving. And it's designed to be very arcadey and quite unsafe. If anything, it really is a thing I think every teenager should have to play with before they start texting and driving, because it really does teach you, do not text and drive. You will wreck your car. I do a very bad job in SMS Racing of keeping my car alive while keeping my text friendships going. But if you do have a Samsung phone already, if it's compatible, if you happen to have bought into that system and you'd like to try out Netflix and virtual reality, some of these weird racing games, some of these weird demos, you are in for something really slick, cool, and comfortable. The headset's lighter than the prior developer-only version of Gear VR. Now you can go into a store or you can go on Amazon and you can get this, and you can see what virtual reality is about. Samsung's the whole ecosystem of it is a lot more slick than I expected. Good on Samsung.
So now, would you say if someone was considering getting a new phone and maybe moving to get a Samsung phone, would you say it's worth it if they were thinking of getting a Samsung phone?
If you are interested in virtual reality, especially if you've done it and you've drunk the Kool-Aid, I would say I go for it, because virtual reality to me is one of those things that once you see it in a good way, once you see a nice, useful, clean, doesn't make you sick version of virtual reality, you buy into it, you want more of it. So in that sense, I may even budget out for it. I really do like virtual reality stuff. When it's good, it's really good. But I'm not sure that I would necessarily say that that's the only reason to get a Samsung phone. It's a pretty busy time of year in terms of really good phones. Ars Technica has reviews of some really good ones. I know LG's got some good stuff. So don't let that be your only deciding factor. But if you are interested in making virtual reality games, don't even hesitate. Get one now, because what you start making with that Samsung set, you can throw it into a messenger bag and you can go out and meet some friends and give them that version of it. If you're an aspiring game maker, you should absolutely get into this just to sort of test the waters, because virtual reality games are going to be huge in the next year, the next 2 years. So if you want to be on the ground floor, this is the first really workable path to making it and being a part of it.
So I want to go back really quickly to the text messaging. Do you think it's good enough to teach people how to text and drive at the same time?
Not really, because it's sort of it's a weird version where you're just tapping Xbox buttons. Like you have to tap them in a certain order in order to make your friend happy. There's a little timer. Basically, it's like having a friend who is mad if you don't text back within 5, 10, or 15 seconds. So unless you have really obsessive friends like that, I'm not sure that it quite applies. But if you, for any reason, find a real-world version of SMS Racing where you really need to do pizza deliveries while texting really needy friends, by all means, get on it. But it is easily one of the most fun applications of virtual reality I've seen in years.
Well, it's great. Virtual reality lets us do all these things that we can't do in real life, like texting and driving, which maybe it will be that will be the way that people text and drive less because they've done it in virtual reality. They don't need to do it in real life.
And when the HTC Vive comes out, that's the one that they're partnering with Valve. It's the one where you can put the headset on and walk around in your room. Then you'll be able to learn how to work at a Quickie Mart, because they have Job Simulator coming for that, where all you do do is simple rudimentary tasks. The idea of that one is that you've arrived in a future in which people depend on virtual reality so much that they've forgotten how to do real tasks for themselves. It is the most boring sounding pitch for a game, but the way they implement it, it's like the Wii Sports of VR. It does all these simple things, but turns them so goofy. I could go on. I feel like I've talked about that one at least 4 times with you, Megan. So definitely check. We've written about that one and others at Ars Technica. We're big fans, and assuming they actually make their deadline of December, they said they're going to have it out by December. If that's true, then that will be the Christmas toy to beat. But we'll have to talk whenever we find out whether that's going to happen or not.
Well, Sam, thank you as always for coming on. Sam Machkovech is the culture reporter at Ars Technica. It is always a pleasure to have you. And Sam, you can find him on Twitter at SamRed.
Thanks, Megan. It's good to see you guys. Have a happy weekend and Thanksgiving and all that stuff.
Take care. And finally, tonight, breaking news for those of us who care about evolving gender roles in the tech industry when it comes to parental leave. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced today that he will take 2 months of paternity leave after his daughter arrives. No word yet on who will run the social network while he is out. Zuckerberg mentions studies that say that outcomes are better for children when their parents take time to be with their newborn. So if parents can afford to take the time off, I think it's great that they do. Not everyone can afford it, of course. He didn't say that, but I am saying that. Also, it's not always the culture of the company, especially when it comes to paternity leave. Zuckerberg also perhaps inadvertently points out this problem. Just because a company has a generous paternity leave policy does not necessarily mean that the company has a culture in which people, mostly men, but also women, feel comfortable taking that time. Zuckerberg says Facebook offers employees up to 4 months leave, but he will only be taking 2 for now. And that's it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We are on Apple TV. Download one of 4 new apps. If you want to see my review of the Apple TV, you can check out today's episode of Before You Buy. This show is also on TuneIn and Spotify and YouTube and iTunes, and all of our episodes, of course, are on twit.tv. And you can subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. Write to us at TN2@twit.tv and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I am Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.